Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in, whether you be on the Zoom webinar platform or if you're watching on Facebook. I'm going to talk today about what I've been posting about this week, which is, are you resisting the next level? I posted some symptoms that I'm going to be going through again of how to recognize if you have been resisting the next level. And, this really came about for me this week when I had this kind of what felt like a crisis moment of making a decision to go to a seminar or not. And it felt so heated, so much charge in my body thinking about it, like it's this big epic decision. And one felt really, really excited and high energy. The other felt a lot lower. I checked in with my intuition, and it really said that either would be fine, but that I would get way more centered and grounded and get more done if I didn't go. And I went with that, and I immediately felt very down and depressed. And I thought I made the wrong choice. But what's happened since, how much I've gotten done and taken care of and really faced a lot of things, I think it is the right decision. And it brought up this Steve Jobs quote that I really love, which is when he said to his lead designer, Johnny Ive, said, "What are you saying no to that in honor of your commitments and what you really want to do?" And he said, "Well, I said no to this event, to this bar mitzvah, to this invite." And Steve Jobs said, "Bullshit. Those are things you'd say no to anyway. You don't really want to go to those things." And he said, "Tell me something that you really, really want, like in the depths of your soul, but you're saying no to because of what you committed to." And that's when Johnny Ives says that he really, really got it. And so I'm going to now share with you. Thanks for everybody who's here. If you want to just leave a message in the chat, let me know that you can see and hear everything okay. That would be awesome. But otherwise, here's what's going to happen is I'm going to share with you the specific techniques for dealing with each of these that I brought up. And first, I want to ask you, what is your decision right now? Because this is all about focus, right? And not being all over the place, but bringing it in. So I ask you right now, are you focused? Are you multitasking? Are you doing a lot at once? Because what I've found is that doesn't do justice to any of the things you're doing. It's like all of it becomes done half-assed. And so first I ask, what is your commitment? And if it's not to this, I get it. I totally get it. And I want to give you your time back. Take this half hour, this 40 minutes, and apply it. It's like it's like oddly this gift to you. Like, don't do this. Don't be here. Go off and do something and get your 40 minutes back. But I'll give you two other options. One is that if you do stay here, first I'll give you a killer tip. And if you want to take that and go, I understand, because I just want to honor you for tuning in. But the other is if you are here, then I ask you to really be centered and focused, because what I'm going to share with you could really be highly transformative. But the only chance of that is if you're really focused and here. So just leave a message right now in the chat or in the comments of if you're willing to be fully focused and be here right now, so that I can give you this great information that I think could really save your time, your week, your energy, like it has for mine. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, guys. And thank you for your trust in me to invest your time in this, and that I'm not going to waste it, and that I'm highly focused on you right now. And so thank you for focusing on this. So I'm going to give you, here's how it'll go. I'll give you one killer tip. If you want to go, I understand, but the gold is really after this. Then I'm going to share very briefly a part of my story and how I came to this very briefly. I really don't like when people go on about their stories if it's not relevant when they promise something big. Then I'm going to tell you the specific techniques for dealing with those 5 symptoms of not reaching the next level. And then I'll tell you about how we can go deeper if you want. Cool? So, all right, here we go. So the first that I'll give you of this killer technique is to, if you find yourself in that space, in that overwhelm, in that, oh my God, things are going off the rails, the best thing you can actually do is just clean. Just clean anything. Clean off your desk. clean off your desktop, put it all into a folder that just says desktop. You'll get immediate relief, an immediate sense of control. It's funny, my friends and I like to call the Container Store the existential crisis store, because that feeling of getting things organized gives you the feeling of control, even though who knows if we're actually in control of anything. So if you're feeling that, if you're feeling a little panicked, a little all over the place, just go ahead. You can even get off the call now and just go clean off that desk, and you will feel immediate relief. Now, part of my story with this, because I think we're all having issues with focusing, especially with all these distractions everywhere, notifications, texts, things coming in that just drain our attention and our time, even when we really like them and enjoy them. We get to the end of the day and say, what did I really do? I dealt with this from a very early time on. In my 20s, I was actually suffering greatly from depression and anxiety. And I went to see the top psychiatrist probably in the world, with the NIH, to talk to him about this. I was in DC at the time. And he said, he listened to my story and everything. And he said, hey, do you have ADD? And I said, no. What are you talking about? I don't have ADD. He said, well, why don't we take a test? I said, I'm not taking a test. I don't have ADD. I came here for you to help me with depression and anxiety. And he said, well, just humor me. I said, okay, fine. And I took this test. And I was off the charts ADD. I was looking at it in shock. I couldn't believe it. And he said, this confirms my theory about you. And I said, what? And he said, you're not actually really have this deep depression issue or even a deep anxiety issue. He said, what it works for you, like I think it works for a lot of us, is our attention is scattered all over in different places. And so because of that, we don't get things done that we really need to and really want to get done. And because we don't get that done, we get anxious. Oh my God, I didn't get it all done, and spend all this energy being anxious and trying to overcompensate for that anxiety. And then when we run out of the anxious energy, that's when we get depressed. And he said, why don't we stop the cycle at the beginning with your attention issue? And so I said, okay, I'm game. And what I did was I started on ADD medications, which really worked for a while and got my brain in a space to understand what it meant to focus. It wasn't a long-term solution for me, though, because they're very stimulant-oriented. They're very addictive. And I got to the point where it was just dropping me off on such a low that I decided not to take the medication anymore. But it really showed me, and I'm grateful for the experience, about how much attention is the issue and focus is the issue, with all these other things that I was feeling. And that came up again and again in my life. It's a whole nother long story I'll share for another time, but it got me into major, major debt. I mean, 80 grand in debt because I couldn't reel it in. As if that wasn't enough pain. Later after that, after I got that dialed in, because I went to Debtors Anonymous, I went through a 12-step program, got a sponsor, went through meetings 3 times a week because I was so badly in this debt situation, but still found that at it, underneath it was this attention issue and a deeper issue that I'm going to share with you in a moment. But it got so bad that I would reach these panic attacks and literally get into the hospital. I mean, actually in the hospital because I thought I was going to die. That's how bad the anxiety got, of being all over the place. And through this experience, through going to the emergency room, through going through a 12-step program, I realized this deep point. I'm going to share this with you because this is the real mind blower. And after that, I'm going to share the specific techniques. But I like to share this with you first because when you get this, you'll get the rest of it so easily. It'll just come to you. If I went straight to the tips, I'd probably overwhelm you a bit. You'd be like, oh, okay, maybe I'll try one of them. But if you get this deeper insight, these other things are going to be so easy. So here it is. What I realized through all these experiences, through a 12-step program, through panic attacks, is that the true resistance was resisting what I'm actually feeling. So everything I was doing was to compensate for emotions that I wasn't ready and willing to experience. Like I said, it's a much deeper story, especially with the DA 12-step, which was a feeling of self-hatred that I was overcompensating for by spending. and I wasn't willing to sit with that feeling. That clearly is a deeper, longer one, but this applies to in the smallest of situations, where whether it's a big task we're going to take on or clean up our garage or something, we're not avoiding cleaning up the garage. I mean, that's just moving things around. It's the emotion that we face. It's when you take something off that shelf and you're just not sure about it or makes you uncomfortable. It's about that you want to write that book, but that idea of writing that first chapter can be paralyzing because of the emotion behind it, the fear. And it's sometimes conscious and it's sometimes not. Is this making sense? So whenever you feel this resistance, there's a deeper emotion that you don't want to feel. And my mentor, Dan Mezek, one of my mentors, said to me that our operating system of the brain is run by the emotions that we don't want to feel, because that's what hijacks us unconsciously. And so what I'm going to do through these next tips that I'm giving you is the process of taking the unconscious and making it conscious. That's the real gift here. So just take a moment. I'm just going to give you a few seconds of silence. If you want to take this and write this down, even if you know what it is, write it down. If you don't want to know what it is, just write down the question for yourself right now. What is the emotion that I'm avoiding feeling? Take a moment to write that. And now in a few seconds, I'm going to load up the specific insights and ahas for each of the symptoms of resisting the next level and what you can do. I'm so excited to share them with you. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Great to see you on here, Dan. Thanks for being here. Sharing the screen, going to Keynote, and into play mode. So are you resisting the next level? So let's go to the first symptom here, right? Well, actually, I'm going to go over them and then I will tell you the solutions. You probably saw this in my Facebook post. Open loops. Do you feel your notes are scattered? Post-its all over the place. Ideas, to-dos, partially read books, open tabs, thoughts looping in your brain saying, I really need to, I really need to. This resonated for a lot of people. Thoughts of buying something. That thing you want to buy, that car, that dress, that coffee maker. For me, it's this gorgeous espresso machine I keep looking at. Or maybe it's another course or a program. But if you're honest with yourself, it's because you're worried that if you don't take that program, you will fail. 3, you're neither here nor there. When you're working, you're thinking about a lot of other things. And when you're trying to relax or spending time with family and friends, all you can do is think about work. Number 4, energy spikes and then clears. You feel so on it, ideas flowing in the zone, and then later it's gone and you barely have the motivation to do anything. And number 5, this really got to a lot of people. Choices are paralyzing. Any decision feels huge because whatever you choose, that means there are a million other things you're not putting your focus on. And so you delay, stress, and cycle your thoughts, leaking energy, thinking rather than doing. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to these solutions. 1, open loops all over. These notes, scattered, Post-its, ideas, open tabs. Anybody have that? A million tabs open on your Chrome browser, right? And those looping thoughts. So here's the first. Limit your intake mechanisms. Part of the problem here is you've got too many actual devices that you're bringing them in. A sticky note is a device. A piece of paper is a device. A note on your screen is a device. If you limit this to as few as you can, ideally just one notebook, it'll take care of the feeling of overwhelm, which is the main thing we're addressing. Remember, we're addressing the feeling first and foremost. So start by limiting those intake mechanisms. And I get it. I love stickies. I actually love notes all over the place. When I'm in a creative space, it's great. but it can go too far. Know that open tabs in your browser are like credit card debt, or even starting another book. Imagine that. Just think about that analogy. Like, rather than money, though, it's your attention. And you're saying, I'm going to get to this. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that book I'm going to read. Think about it like you're putting your credit card debt down, and you're going to have to pay with your attention later. And the thing is, you're actually paying with your attention now because those open loops are draining your energy. And the good news is you don't actually have to pay money to get out of this like a credit card debt. All you have to do is shut it down, close it down, close those tabs. And the thing is, if you think this way and you realize that what's behind the emotion there is to think that you can do it all at once. The emotion there is something deeper. But if you think about it, now what I do is I have a rule for myself. I will not allow myself to buy a book on Amazon unless I'm willing to read it immediately when it gets to me in the mail. And the whole thing. If not, I won't order it. I used to order tons of books. Now I'm not going to open a tab unless I'm willing to deal with it right then and there, because otherwise it's like credit card and not paying cash for something. Think about that each time you're opening a new loop, a new book, a new window. Carve out time to close it like it's a task. Put that as one of your Pomodoros if you know how to do that. That 25-minute focus of take time out of your day to close them. That can mean taking your notes and putting them in the notebook. That can mean closing down your tabs. If you can start fresh each day, it will blow your mind. Carve out the time during the day to close those open loops. Number 2, thoughts about buying something. Or maybe you keep looking at it, keep going to that website or researching something. Here's the thing. Your desire is actually to stop the thought. I know this sounds weird. Let me explain it to you. So the idea with this is that, think about it like my my Audi convertible, right? Spent so long figuring this out and researching, etc. And the truth is, with anything that you buy, you get a lot of joy out of it for like a few months, and then it just becomes standard. It's just what your life is. It's the new baseline. But I realized there is value to it. The value that I got out of it is I'm no longer obsessed with looking for a car. It was eating up a lot of thought. And so when I think about getting the new espresso machine, it's not going to make my life a whole lot different. But in a way, at the very least, I'm going to stop thinking about getting an espresso machine. So just know that it's this weird desire, this addictive thought, this addictive desire. When the deeper desire is, can we please just get that so we stop thinking about it and go on to what really matters? So with that awareness, maybe you can get there without needing to buy it. Second is create a waiting period. It depends on the price of it. With a car, my waiting period was almost a year because it's a big purchase. With a book, my waiting period is probably a few days or a week, just to make sure it's not an impulse buy. So I adjust the waiting period of a buy based on how big it is. And then ask yourself, what would I do if I had that? If I had that, is it allowing me to feel something? Is it allowing me to do something? Or just by general nature, once I get that, what am I going to do next now that I've got this time and energy to devote to something else? And see if you can go straight to that. Ask, what would I do next if I had that item? 3, being neither here nor there. And I'm just going to stop and pause for a moment. Take a moment to just write down anything that you've gotten from this so far that I'm going to give you space to, just like 10 seconds. Just write down anything that you want to make sure that you capture or do or try. Okay, let's keep going. So neither here nor there, this is the symptom of being somewhere else in your mind every time. Don't you hate that feeling like you're at a party or dinner with the family and you just saying to yourself, man, I just wish I could relax and be present, but I'm thinking all about my work. But then you're not focused on your work either when you're at work. What is that all about? Let's go deep into that. One, what usually happened is your scope increased. Your scope increased in that you had a set to-do list. You're like, I'm going to get this done. And then wait a minute. Oh, wait, I can do this. Oh, wait, this actually involves more work. I got to do this. And what happened was you took the start of a day, which was setting yourself up for a win, and then it actually became a loss because you didn't accomplish it. And when we end the day with a loss, we start obsessing over it. And you've essentially missed the celebration opportunity, because that's what the end of the day, whether it be reading a book or watching a movie or being with your family or going to a party or going to a dinner, can be, is a celebration of that day for what you did. And so when we give ourselves a huge list of things to do and we don't do it, or the scope increased, then we miss the celebration opportunity. Whereas if we just say this one thing I'll get done, or these two things I'll get done, and everything else is a bonus, and we focus on that in lockdown, that's the opportunity to accomplish it and then celebrate at the end of it. And this is a big one for me. It's challenging, so challenging. But this idea of separating idea and execution, because think about them as like they're two people in your brain. You've got the idea person, you've got the execution person. And they need each other, but the execution person actually really does not like the idea person, because they keep coming back in and messing things up. And the problem happens when you get your ideas and then you go into execution. An idea person comes back and says, wait, there's more we can do. Or what about this? Or what if we try that? And then execution person goes, oh my God. And then kind of throws the papers up in the air and just quits and gives up. And that's when the end of the day feels terrible. So the idea with this is, once you're in execution mode, you go on lockdown. No more new ideas, no more new things. You got to complete that thing first before you're even open to new ideas. Idea guy in your head is going to hate this, by the way. But just get ready for that. Get them in the corner. So just, and add in the chat there, are you getting value of this so far? Is this resonating for you? Is this helping? Cool. Awesome. Great to hear it. So let's go ahead to 4 and then big payoff with the number 5. Energy spikes, then clears. I'm sure you guys get this, right? It's like, oh my God, you're on fire, lots of ideas going, etc. And then you're like, yeah, none of it. And what am I going to do with this now? I was so excited before. Or now I'm not excited anymore. So what's going on here is, first, don't bullshit yourself. I'll tell you how I bullshit myself, right? Oh, I'm okay with drinking all this coffee. No, I know about a half cup or so is good, and then maybe sips after that. If I have a big, huge one, I'm bullshitting myself. So where are you bullshitting yourself when it comes to your energy? Second, this is a really interesting concept. Are you investing it, or are you spending it? Sometimes we need to spend the energy and use it on something, but oftentimes if we got that high level energy, where can you invest it? Where can you invest it? Meaning, going to the gym is a way to invest your energy, because you're investing it in your body. Because sometimes we want to spend it and go on ideas, do this, do that, when it might be the right time to invest the energy. Investing energy also is using that with something that you usually don't like to do. So use that energy by investing it, by essentially by spending it on something that you wouldn't want to normally do. And then the last is, are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? So I think there's this big drive. Gary Vee talks about it a lot. Just stay up till 2 a.m. That's okay if you master number 5, which I'm going to show you in a moment. But if you're not, which most of us aren't, if you're not crystal clear on what you're doing, then get some sleep. So it was said to me that it's not quite clear here. I'm not sure how to answer that as to what's not clear. I'll see if other people are having that problem. We can go back to this. But I really want to get to number 5 and the big payoff here. So number 5, choices are paralyzing. Choices are paralyzing. This is where you don't want to commit to one thing, because if you focus on that thing, all these other things are not getting taken care of. And so we get locked down in paralysis. And the truth of that is that in this part, you're actually addicted to the stress. What I mean by that is by not deciding and stressing over that, you allow yourself to hold the belief that if you somehow figure it out, you can get it all done. Think about that. By stressing and not deciding, you are holding the belief that you can get it all if you just figure it out. The truth of it that I've found is that you can have it all if you know the priority. If you don't know your priorities, if you don't know your values, if you don't have a clear vision, that's when we get in choice paralysis, because everything seems important. Everything feels like a value. The last is to just commit to winning or learning. What I mean by this is if you make a choice, either it's going to be a win or it's not going to be a win and you're going to learn something. But either way, that's a benefit. By not deciding anything, that's the worst choice we can make. And I've found this constantly, that the best leaders I know are people who are very, very decisive. They make decisions very quickly. The best leaders I know aren't the people with the most amount of time. They actually have very, very little time, but they decide very, very quickly. So I want to share with you one more thing before I look to see what questions there have been and answer those. But what I did was I'm developing something right now to help everybody with this. It's in several forms, from working with me directly to what I've created as steps to deal with this and really answer a lot of these questions that you might be having for yourself, such as, what is my priority? Such as, how can I be making these decisions? And it's not going to be right for everybody, I realize, because not everybody's ready to reach the next level or even wants to go to the next level. So I'm being very picky about this because I've seen how powerful it can be, and that this isn't even my main job. I've got other things that I do for money, so I get to be very selective in terms of who I work with for this. And what I did was I developed a quiz for you to understand if you are ready. No judgment for if you're not or don't want to be. There's all kinds of reasons why. But if you want to take this, and I'll put this in the comments or send it to you guys later, tinyurl.com, ready for next level, and just take that test to see. Some really interesting questions I developed that I've noticed with people that I work with, if they're really, really ready for the next level or not. And if you're not, it just gives you something to reflect on. And there's no judgment there. Sometimes we're not. Sometimes I really do want to just stay where I'm at and be like, you know what, I'm good right now. Or, you know what, I just want to relax right now. That's okay. But when you're ready for the next level, then this is something that you can ask yourself and make it as a test to see. And if it is, and you want to work with me, or you want to hear about what I've got coming next, then we will definitely talk. Cool. So I'm going to stop my screen share right now and go back to this. I'm going to check for questions. Okay, great. So a few things I want to go over here. Thank you so much for everybody really participating in this. One that I want to address is of how we're medicating. Dan actually really helped me with this concept as well when we talk about culture change, because a lot of times people are trying to shift the culture of a company to medicate their own lives. And what I've seen with this happen with myself, I will take full responsibility for myself, is I'll take something like a drug, like caffeine, and use it to compensate. What I've noticed is when I have that chocolate or that caffeine or anything like that, is am I using that to help me modify my behavior, or am I using that as a crutch to be okay with not changing? Here's the way that I notice the difference. If I say I'm only going to give myself coffee after taking on a big task, I'm using that to help me modify my behavior and go towards what I want. If I wake up and first thing I have right there is in the morning I have coffee, or I take a look at a big task, I don't do it, and then I have the coffee, I'm usually doing that to compensate. I'm usually doing that because I want to feel okay with my nervousness And then I get back to the task, and oddly, I don't end up doing it. I find other things more important somehow. So the question is, again, what emotion are you avoiding? Awesome. So let me just look here for more. Great. So the question of how can you invest your energy more? Well, we've gone over two techniques. Investing energy means, one, you feel a surge of energy, work out, go run, go for the gym. You're investing that in your body. The second is when you have a surge of energy, oftentimes we want to spend that energy on something that we love to do. Right? I'm energized. Let's go do this thing I love to do. That's spending energy, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But the other is for if you invest it, you then take that energy and do something you haven't wanted to do. That thing you've been avoiding doing. That task you haven't been looking at it. These are two ways to invest your energy as opposed to spending them. Cool? Well, we got through a lot of this in just a half hour. I'll stay on for a little longer to talk about these questions, and also to say with you, I've really only shared just a few things here. There's so much more I've learned, especially if you know about the Xpill, through the Xpill, about commitment, about how to focus. I used that process in that Xpill to run a marathon without any training. I used it to find the house and create this living opportunity of my dream home. Used it even in a relationship and manifesting there. All kinds of ways I'm going to be sharing with you later. So the caveat is only wanting to work with people who are truly ready for the next level. Because this is what I learned at both Zappos and through this work with Xpill, is that it's about alignment. Everything is about alignment. If you and I align in our values and our principles, we are going to get along great. And if you don't, it's not that there's nothing bad, that there's something bad about you or bad about me. It's just that we don't align. We have different values. And I think this becomes personal within cultures, within companies, that if somebody doesn't execute on your values, we take it personally and think it's an affront to us. But what I've found in my deeper work with this, it's just, are we taking the time on the front end, whether it be hiring somebody or a new friend or a new relationship, and really assessing, are we on the same page? Do we have the same values? If so, it's fantastic. If not, then there's really going to be a disconnect there. So that's why with this thing I'm showing you of this quiz that I gave you, it's to determine, are we on the same page as to what it even means to go to the next level. Awesome, Chuck. Great to hear it. So I will be posting that quiz as well if you didn't catch the URL, but I want to catch another question here from Ray John. How do you prioritize your time to complete a given task if you have a 9-to-5 job? So I'm assuming this means a task outside the 9-to-5 job. And for that's about carving out the time with a Pomodoro, meaning you schedule 20 minutes just to focus, no distractions at all. And you either do that before the 9-to-5 or after the 9-to-5. Or maybe you take a lunch break. Or maybe you even get kind of crazy and like say you got to go to an appointment. Don't say, just say, I have an appointment. And then nobody really asks about that. And the appointment's with you to get that thing done. The question is, how much of a priority is that? Cool. Well, thank you for asking the question. Thank you, Morgan, for your sugar. I get that. Sugar has a way of making us feel okay. Like it's okay. But the question is, what are we okay with? Sometimes it just gives us the okay, that feeling of it's okay that I don't do this task. And sometimes we can get to that without sugar. I'm just saying, you know what? I don't have to do this. I don't want to do this. That's what I love about this Xpill process that I've discovered. It's all about willingness. It's all about choice and respecting people's choices and respecting our own as opposed to my agenda for you. Awesome. So I'm just going to check here to see if there are other questions. So how to get the link? I'm going to email that. I'm going to put that on my Facebook. I'm going to email that out right now, right after you get it. So please take it immediately. Going to take them in order that they come in. And if you'd like to continue this conversation, if you'd like to work with me, fantastic. If not, I hope you got a ton of value out of this. I hope that this shifted something for you. And I hope that you look at your notes and just take one thing, just maybe do one small shift, because it goes from there. It doesn't have to be everything. Just what is that one small behavior shift you can experiment with today and see how it goes. Awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time, everyone. Great to see you here. I will see you soon. Look for that link and take on those things you've been avoiding and those emotions, because I can show you how it can be a lot of fun. Take care. Bye.